And now it's time for my favorite part of the show. It's the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes. Take it away, Sam.
We're all talking about the Timberwolves, but there were other sports played over the weekend, including the Twins in Boston. They win 1 out of 3. Their record drops to 3-6, but I think perhaps even more important than that, Byron Buxton is hurt again. He slides into second base on Friday. Here's his knee pop, and he is out with right knee soreness. Everyone is panicking because they just signed him to this huge extension. And once again, another seemingly kind of innocuous little move, sliding into second base, and Byron Buxton is injured. Is this the start of another injury-plagued season for the Twins' best player?
Unfortunately, I'm going to say yes. I just feel like it right now. I don't know if it's the negativity of what Minneapolis has done to me now over the last couple of years living here. But I do feel like it. The tough thing is he probably needs to sit out 2 to 3 weeks. Like to really, anytime you have knee soreness, if it pops, it swells up. And what that means is that's just the body protecting itself so you can't bend it, and it's protecting the injury. I think a lot of people always think swelling is 100% bad. It's not always bad. If it's just fluid and everything else is fine, they drain it. But if they look in there and that swelling is just general swelling, which is basically protecting that joint, protecting whatever you don't want to bend right now, whether it's a finger, whatever, it's the swelling actually is good for you to make sure you don't hurt it even more. If they rush it back and they do all the cold press and the wraps and the compression sleeve, I slept in one myself. It pushes all the swelling down to the calf and ankle. It doesn't help because it adds stress on other parts of your body. So now he might be okay, not okay with the knee, but the knee soreness goes away. Well, now that swelling you've pushed into like an ankle. So now you have ankle tightness, and then you end up doing something weird to your ankle coming out of the box. There's so much, or in the outfield even, there's so much to this where this team is heavy on hitters. We know the Buxton Correa back-to-back, the bomber show, if you want to call it. They were high velocity. Well, now you take one of those guys, move one of those chess pieces off the board, you just don't have that same the feel, and so now people are already questioning, should we trade Correa and get value for all that money? They traded him, and this is like 9 games in. But that's what this town does. They go negative real quick. I hope not, but I do kind of feel like there's going to be some other things down the road for Buxton.
Yeah, I mean, the Twins are struggling mightily on offense right now. That's supposed to be the strong suit. I'm looking at their averages. Correa, 133. Kepler, 167. Polanco, 200. Sano, 077. They don't have a 300 hitter right now, so you lose a piece like Buxton, who is probably going to be that 300 guy, and the offense just feels punchless. And they scored, 1 run in the last 2 games against the Red Sox? That's pretty tough sledding for the Twins. Not a great start to their season. Hockey, a lot of scoring this weekend for the Wild. They lose on Saturday 6-5 in overtime to the rival Blues, who they're probably going to play in the playoffs. Then they bounce back yesterday, a 5-4 overtime win against the ailing San Jose Sharks. So they scored 10, they gave up 10, they split the weekend. Is that high brand version of hockey, is that going to translate to the playoffs, those high scoring games?
Yes and no. I'd say yes because they can score in bunches. So I remember watching, I must have turned it on late or I looked at it late. Again, I was at the gym. So they were down 4-1, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember seeing 4-1, and I was like, oh my goodness, they're getting killed. And then I look up and they're in overtime, and it's 3-on-3 hockey. And so the fact that they could put up that many goals in one period speaks well to the playoffs. But this is the problem. They wasted so much energy, and they exerted so much energy trying to do that, get back into this game, scoring on power plays. When overtime came in that instance, they were kind of gassed. You could see it in the way they were skating. They were trying to sub a guy off, and they sub a guy in, and then the winning goal. Same thing happened in another goal. They were trying to get a line change. Boom, Blues take off, another score. Vice versa, though, going in overtime with a little bit closer, game, not having to get out and just give it all to try to come back and waste all your energy and quick line changes. They didn't have to do that, and they won in overtime. So you can live by the overtime or die by the overtime. It's like a 3-point shot. You live by the 3, you die by the 3. If you want to get in these high scoring, shootouts, you're going to live by it and you might die by it depending on how much energy you have left down the stretch. 3-on-3, that's exhausting. How quick are you making your changes? How quick are your guys getting on and off the ice? Are teams taking advantage of that when they realize you're absolutely gassed? That can be detrimental. Not sure if it's just going to be, them, however they see it, but the Blues, if you look at that's who they probably might face, that's when I say no, because that's not a team you want to get into a shootout with. You've already seen that. If somehow, some way, you can pull some of these games out, yeah, you get past the Blues, yeah, maybe, but you don't want to end up in that. I think they need to get back to defense. It has to be, you have to keep that other team in a low-scoring affair so that you're not exerting so much energy just to try to make a comeback.
Yeah, here's the only thing that concerns me about the Wild is that they have propped up their record in large part because they're so good in overtime and shootouts. I know they lost on Saturday, but they've got 14 wins this year in overtime or the shootout. And, the 3-on-3, that goes out the door in the postseason. It's 5-on-5. There is no shootout. Yeah. So you're not going to be able to count on that, just getting to overtime and winning in the postseason. You got to win those games in regulation once in a while. So that's my only concern.
Yeah, true.
Gophers question for you. An article caught my eye on ESPN.com. Daniel Fa'alele, the big Gophers tackle, was on the all-outlier prospect team. Why is he an outlier? Because he's massive, 384 pounds, projected as a day 2 draft pick. How do you think he's going to translate to the NFL, Ron?
I think he'll be just fine. When you look at guys in the past of his size, Aaron Gibson out of Wisconsin, another big guy, had a decent career, probably got too big. The big difference, and I played against Aaron Gibson, in the Arena League. Like, he ended up going to the Arena League and playing. And so when you look at that size, the good thing about Fa'alele is he's solid. Like, he's 6'9" and solid. There's not a lot of fat on him. He's a big, strong, big boned kid, and that's just his DNA. It's his family makeup. The way he's built is not built like, it's not fat. When he first got to the Gophers, I think he was somewhere around 400 pounds. That might have been a little bit of fat. They've trimmed him down to 380. At one point, I think he was almost in the 70s. It's like 375. Still a humongous human being, but also very much in shape. Played running back in the spring game. We saw he can move and run with the ball. He threw a touchdown. I mean, this kid is not your average 6'9", 380 pounder. So that's what makes him an outlier. I think in the NFL, when you look at his arm length, his power, his ability to stab and stop a defensive end in his tracks, stab and stop a blitzing linebacker in his tracks, his footwork, his ability to move. I mean, watch him play running back, watch him play quarterback. You could see his footwork when he did it's not a wildcat. I don't know what you call that when you put him back there, but when you see him move, he's not a slow, sluggish kid. You even watch him at the Senior Bowl, his footwork and his ability to get off and sit down guys. Like, I mean, literally push him into the ground. Everybody was high on him. At one point, they had him going in, top first round, but like that bottom 30, 31, 32 pick for a team like the Ravens, who might be at the end, who might be one to add for the future. Of course, people were saying, if there's a way for Belichick to move pieces around the puzzle, he would take them because that offense, with Mac Jones, is going to kind of become that, where they're going to sit back in the pocket a little bit more like Brady, protect them. And so, yeah, I see day 2. I think there's a lot of teams that can use a tackle. I honestly, truly believe if Christian Darrisaw wasn't here, because I think Fa'alele is not a true left tackle. I think he's going to start off at right tackle is what people are saying. Fa'alele, if we didn't have Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, I'd see Fa'alele coming to the Vikings. I mean, I think he's a fit. I think he does what they need. He moves well. You look at the running game for the Gophers, he's proven he's a road grader. So I see no problem with that.
There are going to be some awesome articles written about him on whatever team he lands, because he's going to be just this object of fascination because he is massive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like Phil Lodeholt, one of the biggest people I've ever seen, Bryant McKinney. Those guys are 30, 40 pounds less than Daniel Fa'alele. It's insane size. Last one, bonus question, Ron. Did anything catch your eye in the NBA playoffs over the weekend? I know there weren't really a ton of upsets except for the Wolves. A
Yep.
lot of blowouts, but there was a buzzer beater yesterday too. So anything that caught your eye?
I mean, I'm going to say that caught my eye, the 2-7. You know, everybody won that was supposed to win. Every high seed that was supposed to win won, which is every single one minus the Grizzlies. So that caught my eye right away. Also, people are going to say, "Oh, well, you look at the Jazz Mavericks. The Jazz are the 5 seed." Well, you don't have Luka Doncic, so that's a huge difference. When Luka's not playing, they're not good. And so that's why if he can't play, the Jazz are going to run away with this. You look at Donovan Mitchell. And the other thing that caught my eye was the youth movement, but the veteran presence. And so you look at the youth movement. I still put Donovan Mitchell in that youth movement, 32 points. Ann Edwards, 36. John Morant, 32. Tyrese Maxey, 38. Jordan Poole, 30. And Tatum, I'm still going to put him with the young guns, 31. But then you had the vets. You had Giannis with 27. Jimmy Butler with 21. But the other key in that Jimmy Butler 21 is Duncan Robinson. He's my top of the line, caught my eye. Duncan Robinson was 8 for 9 from 3. The kid was absolutely, I mean, he's a Michigan kid, so I knew him. I know him. I've seen him play in college. This kid let it fly. He got benched early, signed a $90 million deal for 5 years, and then got benched. He didn't let that get to him, though. He worked himself in the gym. He shot around. The Michigan faithful talked about how consistent he is when he really works, and he worked because it showed off in the playoffs. 27, 8 for 9 for 3. That's ridiculous. Kyrie Irving, 39 with the double middle fingers to the crowd. CJ McCollum, 25. And then the old dog, 37-year-old Chris Paul goes for 30. And so it was nice to see, like, it wasn't just about Devin Booker. You saw the old guys there. It wasn't just about Chris Middleton. You had Giannis in there. It wasn't just about Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson, definitely. But Jimmy Butler still went out and got 21. And then Kyrie, going through Ramadan, not eating, all the stuff he's dealing with, coming back to a hostile Celtics because they feel like he let them down and they brought him there after he gave up all this crap about LeBron and I got to be on my own. I got to put me first. And Kyrie doesn't really do much for them. He goes in there and almost scores 40 points on the Celtics. So that caught my eye. But again, it was just watching these young guys just thrive. And it was cool to see. And Edwards, he lived up to it. I think that was the huge one.
Yeah, I'm already scouting that Warriors Nuggets series, and you mentioned the Michigan guy Duncan Robinson, the other Michigan guy Jordan Poole scoring 30. If the Warriors are going to get 30 from Poole and have Steph and Clay and Draymond, that's going to be a tough team to beat in the second round when the Timberwolves complete the upset over the Grizzlies.
Yeah, and that's what annoys me about Michigan. You had Jordan Poole, Duncan Robinson. You have all these guys that go on and do well, but they can never get over the hump in the tournament.